The aim was to kill the German civilians, and when Air Marshal Harris, whom I met personally, the Supreme Commander of the British Bomber Command, took up his post in February 1942, the order was already in hand. "I hope so," said Winston Churchill, "I hope that the new Supreme Commander of Bomber Command is aware that our targets in future will not be only the factories in the respective towns, but the surrounding civilian areas, the workers' houses, the centres of population." There it is, written down in black and white in the English archives. We're not just attacking military targets anymore, we're attacking the people, because this also has an effect on morale. It has an effect on mood. It's a crime. Today, this is generally acknowledged as a war crime. According to the Geneva Convention, it is a crime to attack the civilian population. Winston Churchill signed that order and intended it to be done like that. Who actually started this aerial warfare against the capitals? Well, I've been working on a biography of Winston Churchill for 15 years, and here I have to say that it has been proven beyond doubt. Winston Churchill unleashed the aerial warfare on the German cities in the summer of 1940, and for 3 reasons. First, in the summer of 1940, Churchill had just become Prime Minister of England, and at that time the desire for peace was becoming vocal. There were even secret rallies in the street in front of his apartment, peace rallies. People could no longer see any sense in the war. Poland no longer existed. France had been conquered. The Germans had already begun to offer peace conditions, which were quite acceptable. But these offers of peace were never published. Winston Churchill knew about it from decoding the radio. The German ambassador in Washington was contacted by the English ambassador in Washington, a memorable day. On July the 20th, 1940, the British ambassador, Lord Luthien, asked of his own bat, "What are the German conditions? What is the German offer for peace?" The German ambassador, Ernst Thompson, sent a radio message to Berlin, coded by the Enigma machine. "The English ambassador wants to know what our offer is for peace." Churchill had it decoded and read it. On the very same day, July 20th, 1940, he summoned Air Marshal Sir Charles Porter, commander of the British Bomber Command, and asked him, "Sir Charles, what is the earliest moment at which we can attack Berlin to great effect?" Until that time, no bomb had fallen on London and none on Berlin. That is to say, neither had attacked the other's capital city. But now Churchill wanted to know how soon Berlin could be attacked. The answer from Sir Charles: "Prime Minister, it is still summer, July 20th. The nights are too short. We cannot even reach Berlin. The earliest time we could do it would be September 1st. Besides, we would also have the first 100 Sterling bombers then." The big 4-engine bomber aircraft were due to be delivered by that date. Churchill says, "Good, prepare everything for a full-scale attack on Berlin." And Air Chief Marshal Sir Charles Porter points out, "But Prime Minister, if we attack Berlin now, and we know from the radio decoding that Hitler had given the order not to attack London, and that he has not ordered a general area warfare on English cities, I point out, if we attack Berlin now, Hitler will raise his embargo and will unleash an attack on London." Churchill blinked his eyes. It suited him perfectly that Hitler would now bomb London. It was not yet possible. The nights were too short. August the 24th, it is still the year 1940, but that was fateful for the German cities. August the 24th, and a bomb falls on London in the working class area. Nobody was killed, just a few chickens were killed. A German aeroplane had lost its bearings. The crew was later court-martialed by the German Air Force. I know those names. But that was reason enough for Winston Churchill to ask at 9:10 on the next morning, August the 25th, for a direct line from his country seat Chequers to the headquarters of British Bomber Command. I demand that Berlin be attacked tonight with at least 100 planes. Again, the British Bomber Command refuses. We know that because in the English archives, the actual words of this phone call are recorded. Bomber Command wanted it known precisely who was responsible for this historic turn of events. 9:10 on the morning of August the 25th, 1940, Bomber Command refuses. Churchill insists. Bomber Command says, actually, we are planning an attack on the Utrecht in Leipzig tonight. The reply from Churchill, it has to be Berlin. The attack was carried out on Berlin, but only 30 aeroplanes reached the capital. Only a few bombs were dropped on the municipal area and nobody was killed. 2 evenings later, Churchill again ordered an attack on Berlin. This time Hitler went in person to Berlin. We know that because we know exactly what Hitler was doing at that time from his servants' diaries. I have the journals from Goering and from Field Marshal Milch. We have many private journals from prominent figures, the VIPs of the time. Hitler went immediately from Ober-Salzberg to Berlin to be with his people, because he now understood that the English had started to attack his capital. The Air Force wanted to strike back. Hitler said no, still no permission to attack London. Hitler sent for a lawyer, not in order to start legal proceedings against the English. He sent for the lawyer, Dr. Ludwig Weishauer, and told him, you will fly to Stockholm immediately, contact the British ambassador, Victor Menet, and give him the details of the German peace offer. I read the file which holds the written proof that Churchill ordered Menet to refuse access to the German lawyer. On the same day, Hitler asked Rudolf Hess, please get in touch with your English friends and tell your English friends or any voter that we are only looking for peace. And my offer for peace is the following. He would be prepared to withdraw the German troops from France, the Netherlands, Belgium, even Poland and Czechoslovakia. He wanted our agreement that he could have a free hand in the East and, of course, he wanted the former German areas back. This was the German peace offer. In addition, Hitler offered to put the German Wehrmacht at our disposal to protect the British Empire. A really generous offer, one might think. It is known that Hess was unable to establish contact with the English until May 1941. All this was at the end of August 1940. In the meantime, another 6 British air raids were made on Berlin. And on September the 4th, 1940, Adolf Hitler stood up in the Sportpalast in Berlin and made his famous, indeed notorious, speech. These English, these madmen in England have now started to attack our cities. Berlin was attacked by British bombers 6 times within the last 10 days. If the English attack just one more city, then I will pay them back in their own coin. If they send 10 aircraft, I will send 100. If they drop 100 kilos, I will drop 100,000 kilos. If the English continue to attack German cities, then I will wipe out their cities. That is Adolf Hitler's famous speech. The same evening, Winston Churchill called the headquarters in England. I want another attack on Berlin. So, you see, slowly, the responsibility comes to light. Up till now, we have succeeded, says Churchill. And that comes from the speech records of the Russian files about Yalta, which I have. Up till now, we have succeeded in killing 6 or 7 million Germans. And maybe we will be in a position to murder another 1 million Germans by the end of the war. Interesting, isn't it? What Winston Churchill, who is accorded so much respect in England, said to his friend Joseph Stalin at that time. The senselessness of the Allied blanket bombing of German towns becomes especially clear when you compare some statistics. The loss of production caused by bombs was about 9% in 1943. In 1944, it was approximately 17%. The iron and steel industry lost just 3.2% in the first half of 1943, and in the second half of that year and up to July 1944, only 6.9%. The highest production level during the whole war was achieved in August 1944 for munitions, in September 1944 for aircraft, and in December 1944 for U-boats. The Allies' official explanation for the bombing campaign against Germany was the so-called Casablanca Directive, namely the systematic destruction of the German economy and industry. From the comparison of statistics made above, it is clearly recognizable that this undertaking failed completely. The Casablanca Directive was not only an attempt to hide the real intentions from their own public, but also a measure taken to justify the bombing offensive. The organized mass murder of hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians in German towns was planned and executed. A multitude of irreplaceable cultural possessions fell victim to this act of barbarity. The Supreme Commander himself, Air Marshal Harris, eliminated any last doubts about the truth in his book, published in 1948. It must be emphatically stated that, with the exception of Essen, we never chose special industrial firms as a target. The destruction of industrial plant always seemed to us to be a kind of bonus. Our actual target was always the city centre. Dresden, I have to say, ruined my life, because this showed me that you cannot even trust your own government when the government is responsible for recording its own history. You have to search further yourself. You have to find out for yourself. You have to not believe and go on searching. And this continuous searching is what helped me to find out the truth when I wrote my works and my history.